draw it here. It looks like that. And this will be the standard deviation, and this will be expected return. There are actually two efficient frontiers that we are talking about. One is without short sales, and this will be the black line here. That's a great thing. It's red over there and it's black over here, but this is the efficient frontier without short sales. Namely, we can only purchase stock or reduce our holding to zero. This is the efficient frontier if we are allowed to have a negative amount of stocks, so basically short-selling stocks, and using the money to purchase stocks with higher return. Obviously here, the portfolio is leveraged, and we can go to any distance we want, obviously taking greater and greater risk by doing that. The more you leverage, the higher is the risk that you take. But it can show you that even though the existing stocks give you expected return, let's say, for example, between 10 and 15%, you can achieve in this universe of stock a much higher expected return, providing you are willing to take the risk of borrowing. Once you borrow, you can go to a higher expected return, and there's no limit to that. So all we define here is the efficient frontier, and that's relatively easily done by Speakeasy, and the whole work is done by one line, which is a QP min, calling all these matrices and vectors and performing the optimization. So the program, it's a pity we cannot project it, it's about 5-line program running this QP min call in a loop, giving different weights to the expected return standard deviation trade-off. Any question on this one before I go to the next example? Okay. The next example that I chose to demonstrate with Speakeasy is an example of option pricing. And the reason why I chose option is not particularly because I'm interested in pricing options in the option market. There's another, I think, more fundamental reason. There are many, many financial instruments which have an implicit option feature in them. So pricing an option, whether it's an option on interest rate or an option on a stock or an option on a leased instrument, is a very important building block of any financial subroutine library that we would like to create. And the programs that we wrote are general option pricing models. So first, just mainly, I suppose that people here are fairly familiar with that, but just a brief definition of what is an option. It's just an agreement basically between two parties in which one grants the other the right, but not the obligation, to buy an asset from her or to sell it to her under stated conditions. And the stated conditions are given basically in a standard option by the time to maturity. So you may have an option that expired on a certain date, and the exercise price. And this is a numerical example of a stock price of $100, let's say, exercise price of 110, and option price 2.5. Upfront, the purchaser of the call option, this is the call option, will pay $2.50. Once the price exceeded $12.50, there is profit. Below that, there is loss. The loss can be $2.50 or a little less than that in this small triangle once we get near the exercise price. This is the payoff at maturity. There's a slight difference between European option and American option. It turns out that for call option it doesn't matter. They should be priced the same. For put or other type of options which involve stocks as dividend, it does matter. But for the most simple form of option, for a call option, there's no difference in price between American call and European call. The difference in contractual terms is that European option allows you to exercise the right only at maturity, whereas American options allows you to exercise the right up and until maturity date. How do we price an option? Everybody is familiar with the famous Black-Scholes solution. That's an analytic solution. It's great for call options. It's great for call option with no dividend. So it's very restricted in its application. But what